My name is Lita de los Santos, and I had 8 brothers served in the military service in 1942, World War II. This picture was taken in 1939, which is the year my father died. It was the first Mother's Day that we all gathered back in our hometown in Eastland, Texas. We were 16 siblings, 11 boys and 5 girls. The farm was a good place for us to grow up because they all worked in the fields. So we all did housework. We did everything that needed to be done, not only at home, but in the yard, in the garden, and everywhere, and little jobs too. So we survived the first year, the first winter. And then my father's friend, Don Braulio, told my mother that they were hiring people to go work in the north and do work in the fields. And my brothers were all field workers. They knew how to do everything. My brother Tino had been in an accident right before World War II, and he was accidentally shot and he died. Henry was too old, and there was, we called him Pancho. His name was Jose Juvencio. He had fallen down as a child, and his left arm was dried up. Even though he wanted to join the military, anything, he volunteered everywhere, and they would not take him. So those are 3 that were not involved in the war. Jesse had volunteered right after my father died, and he joined the cavalry. He was the first one to go into the service. After we came back to Eastland in 1941, the war started. And then Ernie joined the Air Force. Later on, Cano joined the infantry and was stationed in Brownwood. And then Pete Pichota was drafted. That's when the war got serious. So he went into the Army, and later on, Charlie was drafted also. The following year, we went to migrants again. We went up north. We were picking onions in Indiana when Ray was drafted. Straight out of the fields, they took him, and he went into the tank corps. And that left just 4 boys at home to continue working, and we decided there wasn't enough workforce to stay there. So we moved to Chicago, and we didn't like it, and we came back to Eastland. Big city was not our deal. But before we could get to Eastland, my brother Nick joined the Navy at 17, and Al became 16, and he said, I'm joining the Navy. So that took all the men out of the house. They were all gone. And that's when the war really got serious. So there was a time when my mother and I left there at the house. So that was even worse because we were by ourselves. And my mother was just writing letters every day. That was her job, writing letters to all, wherever they were. We'd get letters from my brothers, and they would be dated, a month ago. So it was very hard to keep in touch with what was going on. And you can see her face. She's just so... We kept telling her, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. She said, you don't know what it is to send your children over, away and never know whether they're coming back or not. And I had a map on the wall that we would try to track them down, who was where, with little pins that I would say, oh, this is Chalo, and this is Neto, and this is wherever they were. And then as the war advanced, I would move the little pins to where they were now. Since my mother and I were the only ones left in Eastland, she wanted to start a business. We opened a little restaurant. So we went to Abilene to do that, and that same night, my brother Pancho, who wasn't able to go, rang our door and said, Ma, you need to come home. You need to come home. I said, my mother said, why? What's the matter? What's the matter? And then he said, here, and gave her the telegram. Charlie was missing in action. They never told you right away. They just told you he was missing in action. 3 days later, we got the notice that Charlie is buried in Normandy Beach, where he died. We always had a banner on our window, on our front door. We had a front door that had half glass, and that's where we hung that banner with this 8 stars, So we replaced 1 star finally with a gold star, you know, which meant that one of them had died. And those, you know, hard 4 years, you know, that we all grew up quickly. We had to.